He has worked with another doctor and has a synopsis of over 340 studies that were translated from Eastern Europe titled Magnetic Field Therapy in Eastern Europe, a review of 30 years of research. And if that's something that you are interested in, that is available through us for $39.95. Dr. Pollock is also considered the #1 medical authority on magnetism in the United States, and he is frequently requested as an authority for radio, television, the printed press, and conventions, as well as he is taught in hospital and university settings. So I am thrilled to have Dr. Pollock with us, and Bill, if you'd like to take over.
Thank you. Thank you very much,
Karen,
for that intro.
I
know we have, Karen, how many people do we have on the line this evening?
Approximately 20.
Very good. I know we have people who've been on the line before, who've heard me speak before. I know we have new people on the line. I also know that we have people of various backgrounds on the line, so I have to apologize on several fronts right from the outset that I may be repeating myself and repeating information that people may have heard previously. On the other hand, again, there are people here who are new. Also, there may be physicians, there may even be engineers, or maybe even physicists on the line. And my general level of presentation is, I would hope to the middle of the range, if you will. It probably is worth thinking about, or at least my talking about how I started working with the QRS itself. Having done magnetic therapy for about 10 years, I was aware, particularly through Dr. Jerebic and our book, that a lot of work has been done with pulse magnetic fields. However, when I started doing the work with magnets, they really were not available. And so, like most people, what I did was use what was available, which is the static magnetic fields. And for years, that's what my clinical experience, my research experience was with. About 3 or 4 years ago, basically, I became aware of several devices that were becoming available in the U.S., although some of them somewhat circuitously, one of them being the QRS. And circumstance would have it, I was invited to do a presentation at the North American Academy meeting in 2000. Because the speaker was supposed to come in from Germany to do that talk, couldn't make it, so we pulled together a bunch of material and I made the presentation, and that really sort of got me going with the QRS itself. Until then, I really had a minimal experience with it. I like the idea of the QRS because what happened in my work with clinical magnets, and one of the reasons I set up the research institute in New Jersey was to do research or set up a facility to do research with a 3,000 Gauss large clinical permanent magnetic field. However, I began to have some questions about whether that size field was necessary, and it seemed that the clinical protocols that were being developed had people sitting in that field for very long periods of time. Somebody is rustling something in the background. If you could mute, please. If you have dogs or kids or doors banging or music or sounds or whatever, if you have a mute button on your phone, please mute it. If you can't, then just cover your mic, please, so we don't get that sound coming through, because everybody hears it and it does interfere with other people's ability to appreciate what's being said. Thank you. What I did then is, with the magnetic fields that I was working with, I was looking at very high-intensity fields at a static level that were thought to be more effective than lower-strength fields. But as I became more and more aware of the literature on pulse magnetic fields, and in particular because what happened at the meeting, at that particular meeting and other meetings, and I was responsible actually for coordinating the speakers program for 3 years at the national meetings, I became aware of a lot of the researchers around the country and had a chance to talk to a lot of people about magnetic fields. One of the people at the conference really struck me, and I'd heard him speak before, Dr. Martin Blank from Columbia. Dr. Blank was working with very tiny fields at the level, about the level actually, quite frankly, of the QRS, and in some cases actually much lower strength than that. And even with those extremely tiny fields, they were able to find a significant change in something in the cell called heat stress protein. Now, the reason that that's interesting to somebody like myself is that what heat stress protein is a natural protective protein in the cell that protects the cell against stresses. Heat stress happens to be one of the first stresses studied, but it also protects against radiation, it protects against trauma, it protects against bruising, etc. What they found is that using magnetic fields that were, at least at a theoretical level, low enough that they would not cause what's called thermal noise. In other words, they would not cause energy reactions in the cell at that point measurable that would increase the thermal noise, the level of the temperature in the cell. So in other words, it's below the level at which temperature would change in the cell. And what they found is that even those tiny fields below that level, below that threshold level, could actually induce heat stress protein. Clearly, higher level fields could as well, but this was sort of like the first time that it's been acknowledged that even these very, very tiny fields could even do that. So we don't really know what the levels of dimension are, going from these extremely powerful MRI level fields to what are called picotesla fields, which are 1 trillionth of a Gauss, or 1 trillionth of a Tesla, which is approximately a billionth of a Gauss. So extremely, extremely tiny. Because of that meeting, my interest in the QRS was especially stimulated because the QRS is using a magnetic field that's at the level of the Earth's magnetic field. And when you study static magnets, one of the things you realize is there's no point using a static magnet if it's at the level of the Earth's field, because we are permeated by the Earth's field. The Earth's field is a DC field, a static field, at the level of about a half a Gauss, which means that with that level of the magnet that you're putting on the body doesn't make any difference, because it's the same as the surrounding magnetic field. If you took a compass to it, the compass needle would not be deflected by that magnet, and as we all know, compasses will deflect, magnets will deflect compasses. Again, if they're strong enough, then that reaction is greater when the magnet is stronger. So pulse magnetic fields then can act at levels below the Earth's magnetic field. Further, subsequently I've discovered that really on the Earth we are really subject to at least 4 types of fields, and actually now with man-made fields there are even more. We're subject to the Earth's magnetic field, which is about a half a Gauss. That's the general overall field. But in the planet, in the Earth itself, there are changes in the level of strength of the field. So as you walk along a field, you are exposing your body to variations in the field, and that movement through the Earth's field actually is a frequency field. The rapidity of your motion across that field would change that frequency. So for example, when you're walking along a field, you produce a very, very low frequency, the speed with which humans walk. However, when you move in a car and you're close to the ground and you have significant changes in the Earth's field, you're increasing that frequency. When you fly, when you drive, go on a train, you're increasing the frequency even more. When you're flying, you increase the frequency even more. Now, obviously, when you're flying, you're well above the small perturbations that happen at the level of the Earth's field. So what we're doing then, when we are in motion, very close to the ground, we are in fact creating